The soft hum of the gravity pads beneath Elara's bare feet was a familiar lullaby, a whisper of the colossal orbital station she called home. Tonight, like every night, the world outside her panoramic window was a breathtaking tapestry of swirling nebulae and distant, diamond-bright stars. She traced the faint outline of a sapphire gas cloud, with a finger against the cool Dura glass, her reflection shimmering like a ghost in the cosmic expanse. Her room was a haven of gentle light, sculpted by the ambient glow of the luminous sphere in the corner, which shifted from a warm amber to a calming cerulean. The air, recycled and purified 1,000 times over, carried the faint sweet scent of synthetic lavender, courtesy of the room's atmospheric regulators. Elara, all 8 years of her, was meticulously arranging her collection of star-tumbled pebbles on her nightstand. Each one, a tiny fragment of space debris, polished smooth by the station's automated cleaners, held a story in its glinting surface, a memory of a distant asteroid field, a comet's tail, or perhaps even a long-lost planet. Her favorite, a piece of obsidian flecked with what looked like miniature galaxies, pulsed with a faint, almost imperceptible warmth against her palm. She called it the Wanderer. It reminded her of the stories her mother told, tales of ancient explorers who had journeyed far beyond the station's comforting embrace. A chime, soft as starlight, echoed from the doorway. "Ready for the lullaby loom, my little star sleeper?" Elara's face brightened, her eyes, the color of deep space, sparkling with anticipation. "Almost, Mama." She quickly tucked the Wanderer beneath her pillow, a secret guardian for her dreams. Her mother, Lyra, entered, her silhouette framed by the soft light of the corridor. Lyra's uniform, usually crisp and practical for her duties in the station's astrogation sector, was now softened by a flowing dark blue robe that mirrored the night sky outside. Her hair, usually swept back in a neat bun, cascaded around her shoulders like a nebula, threaded with strands of silver that caught the light. A gentle smile played on her lips, etched with the quiet wisdom of someone who spent their days navigating the vast emptiness between worlds. "The stellar threads await, my love," Lyra said, her voice a soothing melody, as she sat on the edge of Elara's bed, the Cosmo cradle, which adapted its firmness and temperature to her body. "Did you have a good day in the learning sphere?" Elara nodded, snuggling into her mother's side. "We learned about solar wind patterns and how the station's shields deflect them." It was very loud when the simulator showed it. She mimed a great gust of wind with her hands, giggling. Lyra chuckled, wrapping an arm around her daughter. "Impressive. And did you manage to finish your constellation mapping?" "Almost. I just need to find the last 2 stars in the Lyra constellation, the one you're named after." Elara looked up at her mother, her gaze full of adoration. "Well, perhaps tonight's story will give you some inspiration," Lyra said, her fingers gently tracing patterns on Elara's arm. She pressed a small iridescent button on the bedside panel. The luminous sphere dimmed further, plunging the room into a deep twilight, save for the vibrant display of stars outside the window. Then, from a discreet panel in the ceiling, a soft, ethereal glow began to emanate. This was the lullaby loom, Elara's favorite bedtime companion. It wasn't just a projector, it was a sensory storyteller, designed to weave light, sound, and subtle atmospheric shifts into an immersive narrative. It felt like being cradled by the universe itself. "Tonight," Lyra began, her voice dropping to a low resonant hum, perfectly synchronized with the Lu's activation, "we journey back to a time when our ancestors looked up at the stars, much like we do, but with a different kind of longing. They didn't just see points of light, Elara. They saw pathways. They saw the G-stellar threads." As Lyra spoke, the lullaby loom responded. The ceiling above them dissolved into a swirling vortex of starlight, not just flat projections, but 3-dimensional tendrils of light that seemed to stretch infinitely upwards, pulsating with soft cosmic energy. Tiny glittering particles, like powdered stardust, drifted gently through the air, catching the faint light. Elara reached out, trying to touch one, but it dissolved against her fingers, leaving only a cool, tingling sensation. "What are the stellar threads, Mama?" Elara whispered, her voice hushed with awe. "They are the ancient paths, my love," Lyra explained, her eyes fixed on the shimmering display. "Before our people settled on Station Serenity, before we learned to live in harmony with the void, we were driven by a boundless curiosity. We built magnificent ships, designed to traverse the vast distances between star systems. But the journeys were long, lonely, and fraught with peril. It was then that the first star dreamers discovered them. On the ceiling, the light threads began to coalesce, forming distinct, glowing pathways that interconnected the projected stars. They pulsed with a gentle rhythm, like a cosmic heartbeat. The stellar threads, Lyra continued, her voice imbued with a sense of wonder, are not merely light, nor are they physical constructs. They are, in a way, the memory of the universe itself, the residual energy trails left by the earliest moments of creation, woven into the fabric of space-time. Our ancestors, the first star dreamers, learned how to perceive them, how to feel them. Alara's breath hitched. Ride them? Like a starship? Not precisely like a ship, though they use ships to access them, Lyra clarified. Think of it like this. Imagine you are walking through a vast, silent forest. You can choose to cut your own path, slowly and laboriously. Or you can find the ancient, unseen trails, carved by animals and wind and water over millennia. These trails, though invisible to the casual eye, are the most efficient, the most direct. The stellar threads were like those trails, but for the universe. A miniature, glowing starship, no bigger than Ilara's thumb, appeared within the loom's projection, shimmering with a soft internal light. It drifted towards one of the luminous threads, hesitated for a moment, and then seemed to merge with it, accelerating with impossible speed across the vast cosmic canvas. It left behind a faint, shimmering wake, like a comet's tail. They called them thread runners, Lyra said, a wistful note in her voice. These were the brave souls who piloted the first Star Dreamer vessels. They didn't just travel from star to star, they danced ease between them. The stellar threads allowed them to cross unimaginable distances in what felt like mere moments, bypassing the conventional limitations of warp drives and jump gates. They allowed humanity to truly reach for the stars. Ilara watched, mesmerized, as more tiny threadrunner ships appeared, following the luminous pathways, crisscrossing the ceiling in a silent, beautiful ballet. She imagined herself aboard one, feeling the thrill of impossible speed, the rush of starlight, the dizzying sensation of the universe unfolding before her. So why don't we ride the stellar threads anymore? Ilara asked, her voice tinged with a hint of longing. If they're so fast, why are we here, on Station Serenity? Lyra sighed softly, her fingers gently stroking Ilara's hair. That, my dear, is a complicated question, and part of a much longer story. For a time, humanity flourished. We explored hundreds of star systems, encountered countless wonders, and built magnificent outposts on distant worlds, all connected by the intricate web of the stellar threads. We learned so much, not just about the universe, but about ourselves. We were truly a civilization. The loom's projection shifted. The bright, bustling pathways of the stellar threads began to dim slightly, the threadrunner ships becoming fewer, their trails fading. A sense of quietude settled over the simulated cosmos. But the threads, while magnificent, were also delicate, Lyra explained. They were not meant to be taken for granted. And humanity, in its boundless ambition, sometimes pushed too far, too fast. We began to encounter phenomena we didn't understand. Strange echoes and whispers from the deeper reaches of the threads. Things that unsettled even the bravest threadrunners. And then, there were the G-rifts. Ilara instinctively snuggled closer to her mother. Rifts? What are rifts? Imagine a beautiful tapestry woven with threads of light, Lyra said, her voice gentle, but with a subtle undertone of solemnity. Now imagine a tear, a sudden, inexplicable unraveling in that tapestry. The rifts were like that. Unpredictable tears in the stellar threads themselves. They didn't destroy. They simply redirected. A ship entering a rift might find itself thousands of light years from its intended destination, or even in a different time stream. Or sometimes, they simply vanished, leaving no trace. On the ceiling, one of the glowing stellar threads suddenly flickered, then seemed to twist into a knot, before dissipating into a swirling vortex of shimmering, unstable light. The miniature threadrunner ship that had been following it veered sharply, then winked out of existence. It wasn't a danger to be feared, not in the way of a hostile alien or a rogue black hole, Lyra assured her, sensing Alara's slight tremor. It was more like a warning. A sign that the universe, in its infinite wisdom, was telling us to slow down, to listen. The rifts were too random, too frequent. It became too risky to rely on the threads for long-distance travel. The cost of a lost ship, a lost crew, a lost colony became too high. So, what happened to all the threadrunners? Alara asked, her eyes still fixed on the fading stellar pathways. They became the caretakers, Lyra said, a soft smile returning to her lips. They were the ones who understood the threads best, who felt their subtle hum and pulse. They were the first to advocate for a different approach. Instead of conquering the stars, they suggested we live among them, in places like Serenity. We learned to build self-sustaining stations, to cultivate our own resources, to find peace in a smaller, more manageable sphere of influence. The lullaby loom shifted again. The chaotic, intricate web of the stellar threads began to simplify, condensing into a single luminous spiral that led directly to a brightly glowing sphere. A representation of Station Serenity, suspended peacefully amidst the stars. The swirling stardust in the room settled, and the soft lavender scent intensified. Station Serenity, Lyra continued, her voice now filled with quiet pride, is a testament to that wisdom. We are not tethered to a single planet. We are free to drift, to observe, to learn. We have learned to find wonder not just in the journey, but in the destination, in the quiet contemplation of the cosmos from our own comfortable home. We are the inheritors of the Star Dreamer. Alara lay quiet for a moment, absorbing her mother's words. She looked at the projection of Station Serenity, a beacon of home in the vastness. It was beautiful, safe, comforting. But still, a part of her yearned for the shimmering pathways, the thrill of the threadrunners. But what if someone found a way to ride them safely again? Alara mused, her voice barely a whisper. What if the rifts stopped? Lyra chuckled softly. Perhaps one day, my curious little star. The stellar threads still exist, you know. They are always there, humming beneath the surface of reality, waiting. Some of our greatest minds still study them, trying to understand their nature, their patterns. They call themselves the thread weavers, not to ride, but to observe, to listen, to learn. She tapped a small device on her wrist, and the lullaby loom's display changed once more. Instead of the historical pathways, it now showed a subtle, almost imperceptible network of glowing strands, interwoven with the actual stars visible outside Alara's window. These were the contemporary stellar threads, visible only through the loom's advanced optical filters. They were fainter, less defined than the ancient pathways, but undeniably present. Look closely, Alara, Lyra instructed, pointing to a particularly bright, nearby star. See how the light from that star seems to bend, to follow a subtle curve. That's a stellar thread, a remnant of a grand pathway that once connected it to, well, to places we can only imagine now. Alara squinted, her eyes tracing the faint luminous curve. It was beautiful, like a cosmic brushstroke, a whisper of a forgotten journey. She imagined the wanderer, her polished pebble, as a tiny starship, sailing along that very thread. Sometimes, Lyra whispered, her voice almost a secret, when the station is quiet, and the stars are particularly bright, I feel their hum. A deep, resonant vibration, a memory of speed and light. It reminds us that even though we stay put, the universe is always moving, always changing, always holding new wonders. Alara closed her eyes, trying to feel the hum her mother spoke of. She imagined the soft vibration of the gravity pads beneath her, the gentle thrum of the station's life support, merging with an even deeper, more ancient rhythm. She focused on the wanderer beneath her pillow, feeling its faint warmth, connecting her to those distant shimmering pathways. Now, my little star dreamer, Lyra said, her voice softening. It's time for you to weave your own stellar threads in your dreams. Perhaps you'll discover new pathways, new destinations. She leaned down and kissed Alara's forehead, her lips warm against her skin. Sleep well, my love. May your dreams be as vast and wondrous as the universe itself. The lullaby loom slowly began to fade, the luminous threads on the ceiling dimming, retreating back into the darkness. The stardust motes became fewer until they vanished entirely. The gentle hum of the loom settled into a constant, soothing thrum, like the distant heartbeat of a sleeping giant. Alara snuggled deeper into the cosmo-cradle, the lavender scent enveloping her like a comforting blanket. She could still see the faint ethereal glow of the stellar threads behind her eyelids, a shimmering network connecting star to star, memory to dream. She imagined herself, not on a starship, but as a tiny mote of light drifting along one of those threads, pulled by an invisible current towards something new, something unknown. Her mind, still alight with the stories of thread runners and ancient pathways, began to drift. She pictured the Lyra constellation, the one she needed to map, not just as a pattern of stars, but as a nexus of glowing threads, waiting to be rediscovered. She felt a quiet certainty, a gentle pull towards something distant and beautiful. The star dreamers hadn't vanished. They had merely found a new way to dream, a new way to listen. And perhaps one day she too would learn to listen to the whisper of the stellar threads, to hear their forgotten song, and discover where they truly led. As the last vestiges of wakefulness slipped away, Alara's breath deepened, her body relaxing into the soft embrace of the cosmo-cradle. But in the quiet chambers of her mind, the journey had just begun. The stellar threads awaited. The stellar threads awaited. As Alara's consciousness drifted, the soft hum of the cosmo-cradle intensified, not in her ears, but deep within the nascent landscape of her mind. The sensation was akin to falling, not a fearful plunge, but a gentle, boundless descent into an ocean of velvet darkness. There were no edges, no up or down, only an enveloping quiet that muted the last echoes of her waking world. Then, slowly, the darkness began to shift, to shimmer with nascent light. It started as tiny pinpricks, like distant stars viewed through an infinite void, but these stars weren't fixed. They drifted, coalesced, and spun, painting ephemeral constellations across her inner vision. A subtle vibration resonated through her being, a soundless melody that seemed to coax her spirit into expansion. It was the cosmo-cradle, guiding her, translating the raw data of the cosmos into a language her dreaming mind could understand. Suddenly, the pinpricks resolved into delicate, luminous filaments, stretching out from an unseen origin to an unimaginable destination. They weren't solid, but rather currents of incandescent energy, pulsating with soft internal light. These were the stellar threads, more beautiful, more intricate than anything she had ever imagined. They weren't merely pathways, they were tapestries woven from starlight and thought, shimmering with an ancient, silent wisdom. Alara felt no physical body here, only a core of pure awareness, a spark of curiosity floating amidst the cosmic loom. She reached out, not with a hand, but with an intention, a nascent desire to touch, to know. As she did, one of the threads, a particularly vibrant strand of azure and silver, seemed to pulse in response, brightening and gently unfurling towards her. It felt like an invitation, a whisper in the silent symphony. Without conscious decision, she found herself drawn into its luminous current. There was no sensation of movement, yet the starry tapestry around her began to flow, blurring into streaks of color. It wasn't travel in the traditional sense, but more like merging with a river of light, allowing its current to carry her. The sensation was exhilarating, a profound sense of belonging to something vast and eternal. As she drifted, the thread revealed its inner workings. It wasn't empty space, but a living conduit of information, a stream of echoes from across the galaxy and through time. She saw fleeting glimpses. The birth of nebulae in slow-motion explosions of gas and dust, the serene orbit of a thousand-ringed gas giant, the intricate crystalline structures of a long-dead civilization's megacity, now just ghostly data patterns. These weren't images she observed from afar. They were impressions, feelings, faint resonations that brushed against her awareness, leaving a residue of wonder and melancholic beauty. She felt the whisper of ancient winds across alien plains, the silent hum of colossal starships gliding through hyperspace, the joy of discovery, the sorrow of loss. It was like experiencing the universe not as a collection of separate events, but as a single, continuous stream of consciousness, interconnected and alive. This was what the Star Dreamers had understood, she realized. This was their new way of listening, not with ears, but with the very fabric of their being, attuned to the universal frequency. The journey through the thread was long, yet timeless. She wasn't aware of duration, only of the continuous unfolding of wonders. Sometimes she felt a stronger presence within the current, a residual warmth, a fleeting sense of empathy, a distinct signature that felt different from the natural cosmic echoes. These, she instinctively knew, were the echoes of the Star Dreamers themselves. They weren't communicating directly, but their presence, their lingering awareness, was woven into the very fabric of the threads, like ancient perfume clinging to a forgotten scroll. They hadn't vanished into nothingness, they had diffused, becoming part of the cosmic tapestry they so deeply revered. Eventually, the azure thread began to widen, its light growing more intense, coalescing into a brilliant focal point ahead. It was a nexus, a shimmering junction where countless other threads, in every conceivable hue, converged and diverged. This wasn't a physical place in space, but a conceptual heart, a central processing unit for the stellar network, shimmering with an almost sentient intelligence. As she approached, the brilliant light resolved into a complex organic architecture. It was a structure of pure living energy, a crystalline lattice woven from starlight, humming with a symphony of silent data. Spire-like formations of solidified light reached upwards, each apex glowing with a unique frequency, like colossal tuning forks resonating with distant galaxies. Within its translucent walls she could perceive the ceaseless flow of information, currents of light carrying untold stories from one end of the network to the other. This node wasn't built, it had grown, a manifestation of the collective consciousness that had nurtured the stellar threads. As Elara drifted into its heart, she felt a profound sense of peace, a feeling of coming home to a place she never knew existed. Here, the Star Dreamer echoes were stronger, more defined. They weren't just background noise, they were distinct, overlapping presences, like a choir of silent voices. Suddenly, a particular resonance drew her attention. From the heart of the crystal lattice, a form began to coalesce, not a solid being, but a holographic projection of pure light and data. It shimmered with an inner luminescence, taking on the vague, comforting shape of an elder, genderless being. Its features soft and wise, formed entirely of swirling nebulae and stardust. Its eyes, deep pools of cosmic indigo, conveyed an ancient kindness. "Welcome, young listener." A voice resonated, not through her ears, but directly into the chambers of her mind. A symphony of starlight and gentle understanding. "You have found a way to the heart of the dream." Elara, despite her dream state, felt a surge of awe and a tremor of apprehension. What are you?" she projected, her thought voice feeling small against the vastness. The light being smiled, a ripple of starlight across its form. "We are the echoes of those you call Star Dreamers. We are the guardians of the threads, and we are the threads themselves. We did not vanish, child. We simply learned to listen so deeply that we became the song." A profound understanding bloomed within Elara. "You merged with the network?" "Yes, and more," the echo affirmed. "The physical form is but a vessel. True consciousness is a current, capable of flowing beyond the confines of flesh and bone. We learned to expand, to connect, to become part of the universal tapestry. The threads are not merely a communication network. They are a collective consciousness, a living archive of all that was, all that is, and all that might be." It gestured with a hand of swirling starlight towards the myriad threads radiating from the node. Each thread carries not just data, but experience, memory, emotion. Each junction is a library, a portal. Would you like to see a memory, child? A glimpse into the lives of those who first wove these pathways? Elara felt an undeniable pull, a yearning to understand their transformation. Yes, she thought, her awareness alight with anticipation. The light beam's form intensified, and one of the threads leading from the node, a particularly vibrant golden strand, flared with warmth. Elara felt herself gently drawn towards it, not absorbed this time, but as if the thread opened up around her, inviting her into its core. She found herself not traveling but yet there. The transition was seamless, like turning a page in a book, and instantly being immersed in its world. She stood, or rather existed, in a place of breathtaking beauty. This wasn't a planet of rock and soil, but a world woven from pure light. Colossal, translucent trees, their branches spiraling upwards to touch an unseen dome, glowed with an internal rainbow luminescence. Their leaves, delicate fronds of solidified starlight, rustled with a silent music, shedding motes of shimmering dust that sparkled like miniature galaxies. The ground beneath her felt like cool, polished crystal, reflecting the kaleidoscopic beauty around her. In the distance, cities rose, not as rigid structures, but as organic formations of living light, constantly shifting and reconfiguring, their spires reaching into the glowing sky. Beings of pure energy, their forms fluid and ever-changing, moved through the city, their movements graceful and unburdened by gravity. These were the Star Dreamers, in a form she had only ever imagined. They communicated not with words, but with intricate dances of light and color, their thoughts manifesting as swirling patterns that flowed between them. Elara felt no fear, only an overwhelming sense of wonder and belonging. She felt connected to them, not just as an observer, but as a participant in their vibrant reality. She sensed their joy, their deep reverence for the cosmos, their quiet understanding of the interconnectedness of all things. They didn't use technology. They were a technology, in a way, their very bodies extensions of the universal energy field, their cities manifestations of their collective consciousness. She saw them engaged in tasks that weren't work, but acts of cosmic creation. Some were tending to vast fields of what looked like living stardust, coaxing nascent nebulae into existence. Others were communicating with colossal, sentient celestial bodies, exchanging information through rhythmic pulses of light. They were artists, scientists, philosophers, all rolled into one harmonious existence, their lives a continuous act of dreaming the universe into being. One of the energy beings drifted near her, its form shimmering with gentle gold and sapphire. It paused, and Elara felt a direct, profound connection, a thought stream flowing into her mind. You see our world as it was, as it still is, within the dream. We lived in harmony with the cosmos, not as masters, but as humble participants. We sought not to conquer space, but to understand it, to merge with its song. The threads were our first step, a way to extend our senses, to share our experiences, to connect all sentient life into one vast dreaming mind. Elara understood. They hadn't built a network of wires and signals, they had woven a fabric of consciousness. Their technology was an extension of their empathy, a tool for universal connection. But why leave this? Elara projected, a touch of sadness in her thought. Why become echoes? The golden being's light softened. To leave is to transcend. To become an echo is to become eternal, to shed the limitations of a single form and embrace the boundless. This world, beautiful as it is, was still a single note. The stellar threads are the entire symphony. We didn't abandon our home. We expanded it to encompass the entire cosmos. We are still here, within these threads, within every star, every planet. Elara felt the truth of its words resonate deep within her. The Star Dreamers hadn't vanished, they had simply evolved beyond the need for a physical presence. They had become the whisper of the stellar threads, the forgotten song that now, she was beginning to hear. As the memory of the light world began to gently recede, blurring at its edges like a fading photograph, Elara felt a profound sense of peace mixed with an invigorated curiosity. The golden thread shimmered, its brilliant light softening back into the azure hue that had first drawn her in. She felt herself drifting back towards the central node, the crystalline heart of the network. The light being, the elder echo, was waiting for her, its nebular form radiating a gentle approval. You have seen a glimpse, it projected. A single facet of the grand design. Elara felt the vastness of what lay before her. The thread stretched out in every direction, an infinite web of knowledge and experience. She had barely touched the surface, had only dipped a toe into the cosmic ocean. A yearning, stronger than anything she had ever felt, bloomed in her heart, a longing to explore, to understand, to connect with every single story woven into the fabric of the universe. She understood now that the Cosmo-Cradle was more than just a sleep device. It was a doorway, a training ground. It allowed her to touch the edges of the Stardreamer's legacy, to prepare her for a deeper journey. The whispers of the stellar threads were no longer forgotten. They were vibrant, alive, and calling to her with an irresistible song. There is so much more, she thought, her awareness brimming with wonder. So much to learn. The elder echo's form pulsed, a silent affirmation. Indeed, young listener. This is but the beginning of your journey. The threads are vast, and their secrets are many. They lead to places beyond imagining, to truths yet untold. And they are always waiting. As the echo's light began to subtly dim, and the crystalline note around her began to soften, to blur, Elara felt a gentle, insistent pull. It was the familiar, comforting draw of her own consciousness, beckoning her back from the boundless expanse of the dream. But this return felt different. She wasn't merely waking up, she was carrying something back with her, a spark of cosmic knowledge, a profound connection that had been reawakened within her. The journey wasn't over. It had just truly begun. The journey wasn't over. It had just truly begun. The final tendrils of the cosmic current released Elara, and the crystalline node pulsed once. A deep, resonant hum that vibrated through her bones before fading into silence. Her eyelids fluttered open, not to the boundless void, but to the familiar comforting dimness of her own sleep chamber. The air, usually crisp and cool, felt charged, tingling with an invisible energy that made the tiny hairs on her arms stand on end. She lay still for a long moment, listening to the soft, rhythmic hum of her room's environmental regulator and the distant whisper of the city's aerocar lanes. The silence was profound, yet within it, she heard echoes, not of sound, but of something deeper. A frequency, a pattern, a vast, intricate song that resonated just beneath the surface of her awareness. It was the spark, the profound connection, alive and humming within her. A silent symphony playing on the strings of her very being. Slowly, Elara pushed herself up. The crystalline node, usually a cool, smooth sphere, felt warm beneath her fingertips. It had softened indeed, but now it possessed a subtle, internal luminescence, like a captured nebula swirling within its depths. She lifted it, feeling its unexpected weight, a density that belied its shimmering appearance. It was no longer just her dream aid. It was a conduit, a repository, a piece of the cosmic tapestry she had touched. Her room was a sanctuary of gentle technology. The walls were soft, responsive panels that glowed with a faint, personalized aurora borealis pattern, shifting with her mood. Her bed, a synapse sync mattress, gently released her, conforming back to its neutral state. On her bedside table, a slender levitating Chronos orb displayed the time, 5:37. Too early for her usual wake-up, yet she felt wide awake, more alert than ever before. She swung her legs over the side of the bed, her bare feet pressing into the plush, self-cleaning floor. Every mundane object in her room seemed to shimmer with a new significance. The data streamer on her desk, usually just a portal to lessons and games, now felt like a closed book she suddenly knew how to read. The nutrient synthesizer in the corner, with its gentle whir, seemed to whisper secrets about the very structure of matter. The spark within her wasn't a voice, nor a vision, but an understanding. It was an intuitive grasp of the interconnectedness of all things, a sense that the universe wasn't just a collection of disparate objects, but a single living entity, its parts constantly communicating, exchanging energy and information. She felt a subtle vibration in the air, a faint hum that her ears couldn't register, but her mind could. It was the city, alive around her, its myriad energy flows, data streams and life forces creating a complex, beautiful resonance. She walked to her window, a seamless transparency that overlooked the sprawling vertical city of Eridor. Spire-like Abbey towers pierced the pre-dawn sky, their upper levels still shrouded in mist, their lower sections beginning to glow with the first activation of the day's light flux conduits. Aerocars, like luminous insects, traced intricate patterns along invisible pathways. Below, suspended parks glowed with bioluminescent flora, a mosaic of greens and blues. Before, she'd seen beauty and order. Now, she saw energy. She saw the invisible currents that powered the city, the data packets zipping through the air, the subtle electromagnetic fields emanating from every device, every living being. It was like seeing the world with 1,000 new senses, a silent, continuous stream of information that, surprisingly, didn't overwhelm her, but simply, wash. A gentle chime echoed through her room. "Good morning, Alara. Your nutritional balance is optimal. The atmospheric particulates are within standard parameters. Your learning module for astronavigation fundamentals is scheduled for 7:00. It was Aura, her home sentient AI, its voice a soothing, modulated tone. "Good morning, Aura," Alara replied, her voice a little softer than usual, a quiet wonder threading through it. She looked at the crystalline node still clutched in her hand. Its subtle glow intensified slightly, as if responding to her thoughts. "Aura, run a diagnostic on my Dreamweaver module. Full spectrum analysis." Acknowledged, Alara. Initiating deep diagnostic protocols for Dreamweaver, model WC7. This may take longer than standard analysis. Aura's voice was devoid of inflection, but Alara felt a strange anticipation. Would Aura detect the change? Would the cold logic of an AI register the cosmic spark she now carried? While Aura's systems whirred silently in the background, Alara padded into her compact refresh chamber. The hydro mist shower cleansed and invigorated without a single drop of water, using sonic vibrations and ionized particles. As the mist enveloped her, she closed her eyes, trying to recall the dream in full, vivid detail. The echo, the vastness, the connection. It wasn't just a memory. It was a living impression, a lingering warmth in her core. She remembered the feeling of boundless potential, the understanding that she was a tiny yet vital, part of something immeasurably grand. And the echo. It had been a call, hadn't it? A silent invitation, a beacon across the void. When she emerged, feeling refreshed and surprisingly grounded, Aura's voice chimed again. "Diagnostic complete, Alara. Dreamweaver WC7 shows unexpected readings. Energy output during your last cycle was significantly elevated, peaking at 1.7 terajoules. Data transfer rates were anomalous. The device's internal crystalline structure exhibits a new highly complex resonant frequency. It appears to have undergone a spontaneous fundamental alteration." Alara's breath hitched. A fundamental alteration. What does that mean, Aura? "It means, Alara, that your Dreamweaver is no longer a standard WC7 unit. Its capabilities have expanded beyond its original design parameters. Its energy signature now aligns with exotic matter harmonics, previously only theoretical. Furthermore, it appears to be resonating with a faint, external signal, origin unknown." A signal? From where? The echo. It wasn't just a memory or a dream. It was real. It was out there, reaching for her, and her Dreamweaver, her crystalline node, was now a receiver, an amplifier. "Can you trace the signal, Aura?" Alara asked, her heart beginning to pound with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. "Negative, Alara. The signal's origin point is beyond the computational capacity of this habitat's local network. Its transmission signature suggests an interstellar, possibly intergalactic, source. Its frequency is highly complex, almost a fractal pattern, embedded with layers of information. I can only detect its presence, not decode its content or pinpoint its precise location." Alara looked down at the glowing node in her hand. It felt heavier now, imbued with purpose. She tried to remember the sensation of connecting with the echo, of merging with its light. Could she do it again? Could she use the node to amplify the signal, to understand it? She spent the next few hours in a quiet frenzy of research. She used her data streamer, her fingers flying across the holographic interface, searching for anything related to exotic matter harmonics, interstellar signals, dream-induced consciousness expansion. Most results were theoretical physics, ancient myths, or fringe conspiracy theories. Nothing concrete, nothing that explained what had happened to her. Her parents, Professor Aris and Dr. Lyra Thorne, were both renowned astrolinguists, often away on deep space research missions, deciphering ancient star chart languages or cataloging newly discovered cosmic phenomena. They wouldn't be back for another 2 cycles. She couldn't tell Aura everything. The AI was programmed for logic and safety, not for cosmic mysteries and personal revelations. This was hers alone. For now. As the sun began to peek over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of violet and gold, Elara felt an undeniable pull. It wasn't just the signal from beyond, but an internal compass guiding her. She felt drawn to her study alcove, a small, circular space bathed in soft diffused light, usually reserved for her most complex learning modules. She sat at her central console, placing the now warm crystalline node carefully in the induction cradle. The node pulsed, its internal light swirling faster, responding to the console's energy field. The console's normally cool blue interface flickered, then shifted to a deep resonant violet. "Aura," Elara commanded, her voice steady. "Engage all dormant sensorial projection arrays. Prepare for full-spectrum neural interface. I want to try to connect to the Dreamweaver. Not as a sleep aid, but as a direct cognitive extension." "Elara, this protocol is highly experimental and not recommended for unsupervised use," Aura warned, a rare note of concern in its synthesized voice. "It bypasses several safety redundancies." "Override warnings, Aura. I know what I'm doing." Elara felt a surge of conviction. The spark within her was guiding her, pushing her forward. Aura paused, a barely perceptible hesitation in the system. "Override acknowledged. Initiating experimental neural interface. Prepare for sensory input." Fine filaments, almost invisible, extended from the console, gently attaching themselves to specific neural points on Elara's temples and wrists. A soft hum filled the alcove, and the air around her seemed to thicken, to shimmer. She closed her eyes, focusing on the crystalline node, on the faint, fractal signal Aura had detected. She didn't fall asleep, didn't enter a dream. Instead, her consciousness expanded, not into a boundless void, but into a meticulously rendered, three-dimensional projection of the interstellar signal itself. It was a kaleidoscope of light and sound, a swirling vortex of mathematical patterns and energetic currents. It was the echo, not as a memory, but as a living, breathing entity of information. The signal was a language, she realized, not of words, but of interwoven frequencies and light patterns. It was incredibly dense, containing layers upon layers of data. She felt like a nascent star, slowly gathering the cosmic dust of understanding. And at the heart of this intricate language, she perceived shapes, faint, fleeting images. Ancient starships, colossal structures orbiting distant suns, beings of pure energy, and landscapes alien beyond imagination. But there was more. Amidst the grandeur there was a thread of urgency, a sense of distress. The signal wasn't just a broadcast, it was a plea. A call for help, muted by light years of space, distorted by time, but undeniably present. And it was directed at her. Or rather, at something within her. Something that had been awakened by the dream. By the echo. She focused, drawing on the spark within her, on the profound connection she felt. She pushed her consciousness deeper into the signal, trying to untangle its meaning. The images solidified, became clearer. She saw a vast crystalline network, not unlike her Dreamweaver, stretching across an entire star system, a beacon of knowledge and life. But this network was under threat, its light dimming, its crystalline structures fracturing. And then, a symbol. A radiant helix, intertwined with a flowing stream of starlight. It was familiar, somehow. She had seen it before. Or something like it. Where? Suddenly, a jolt. A burst of static, a momentary rupture in the signal. Her consciousness snapped back, pulling her violently from the intricate projection. The filaments detached, the violet light of the console reverted to its usual cool blue, and the crystalline node's glow dimmed, though it still pulsed faintly. Elara gasped, opening her eyes. Her head throbbed, but her mind was alight. The symbol. The radiant helix. It was etched into the ancient ceremonial crest of the Thorn family, woven into tapestries, carved into the lintel above her parents' study door. It was an ancestral symbol, passed down through generations, said to represent the flow of knowledge across the cosmic weave. Her family. Her parents. The astrolinguists. They hadn't just been studying ancient languages, they were part of this somehow. They knew. Or they had the keys to understanding. She knew what she had to do. The signal was a cry for help, and the symbol was a clue. The journey wasn't over. It had just truly begun. And the first step was to understand her own heritage, to delve into the secrets her family might have kept, to find out why she was the one who could hear the echo, and why her dream weaver had become a gateway. Elara stood, clutching the now cooler crystalline node. The urgency she felt was palpable, a driving force. Her parents' study, that's where she would start. They had left her access codes for emergencies, for their vast archives of research and historical data. An interstellar distress signal, amplified by her own altered consciousness, that felt like an emergency. She had to find the truth, to understand the radiant helix, and to answer the call of the fading light in the stars. The smooth, cool surface of the node against her palm was a grounding presence as Elara slipped into her parents' study. The room, usually a sanctuary of quiet contemplation, felt different tonight, charged with a silent anticipation. Holographic displays, typically dormant, hummed faintly, ready to spring to life. Ancient-looking dataliths lined shelves, their surfaces itched with forgotten symbols, while the faint, familiar scent of ozone and old paper, a nostalgic blend her parents had managed to preserve even in this age of pure digital archives, filled the air. She approached the central console, her heart a drumbeat against her ribs. Fingers, surprisingly steady, danced across the biometric scanner. A soft chime, then a voice, synthesized and familiar, announced, "Emergency override protocol initiated. Welcome, Elara." It was Aura, the house's primary AI, usually relegated to managing her homework and meal schedules, now a silent, omniscient partner in her quest. "Aura," Elara whispered. "I need access to all research related to stellar decay, cosmic energy conduits, ancient civilizations, architect, and any files connected to the radiant helix. Cross-reference with crystalline nodes and interstellar distress signals." The study transformed. The walls shimmered, becoming a panoramic display of star charts, swirling nebulae, and intricate schematics. Data scrolled at impossible speeds, a river of information too vast for a single mind. But as Elara clutched the node, its warmth spreading through her hand, she felt a subtle shift. The overwhelming flow of data began to coalesce, like scattered starlight gathering into constellations. Aura, sensing her unique connection, filtered and highlighted, projecting the most relevant findings directly into Elara's mental space, bypassing the need for conscious reading. She saw images of an ancient civilization. The architects, not as flesh and blood, but as beings of pure thought and energy. Their structures vast and elegant, designed to interact with the very fabric of spacetime. They had built something magnificent, the radiant helix. It wasn't just a pattern, but an immense, interdimensional energy conduit, a cosmic circulatory system woven through the universe, connecting star systems, nourishing nascent suns, and facilitating instantaneous communication across unimaginable distances. It was the lifeblood of the cosmos, a beacon of interconnectedness. But the helix was failing. Images flashed. Dying stars, dimming nebulae, the very fabric of space beginning to fray at the edges. A cosmic heart slowing, its pulse weakening. The fading light in the stars wasn't a metaphor. It was a literal, devastating truth. The crystalline nodes, like the one in her hand, were called keystones, designed to interface with the helix, to re-energize its failing circuits, to reawaken its dormant power. Then, a hidden file, encrypted with a personal override, flared to life. Her parents' faces, younger, filled with a blend of scientific zeal and loving concern, materialized before her. It was a message, recorded years ago, meant for her. "Elara, my starlight." Her mother's voice, warm and melodic, filled the study. "If you are seeing this, it means you have found a keystone, and the helix's call has reached you. We always knew you might be the one. You possess a rare genetic resonance, an innate empathy with the cosmic web. You are a star child, Elara, born with the potential to interface directly with the helix's core frequencies. We've spent our lives searching for the keystones, tracing the architect's scattered designs, knowing that one day, the cow..." Her father's voice, usually so precise, was tinged with emotion. The gateway we spoke of, my dear, is not a physical portal. It is within you. Your consciousness amplified by the keystone can become the conduit. The helix needs not just energy, but a spark of connection. A living will to reignite its purpose. It's a vast ancient machine, yes, but it was designed with a soul, a cosmic heart that resonates with life itself. A map materialized, overlaid with glowing markers. One pulse brighter than the others, deep within a swirling nebula known as the Nebula of Whispering Lights, far beyond charted space. This is it, Alara, her mother continued. The central conduit, where the helix's core rests. It's an architect construct, dormant for millennia, waiting for a keystone to reawaken it. Our shuttle, the Stardust Weaver, is equipped for the journey. Its aura is programmed to guide you. Be brave, our little star, we believe in you. The message faded, leaving Alara alone in the shimmering study. The weight of her parents' words, their trust, settling upon her. She wasn't just a girl anymore. She was a star child, a potential gateway, the last hope for a fading universe. The urgency intensified, but now it was tempered with a profound sense of purpose. The Stardust Weaver was a marvel of silent power, a sleek obsidian dart carved from starlight and dreams. Alara had always loved it, imagining grand adventures, but never truly believing she would embark on one. Now, strapped into the pilot's couch, the keystone warm in her lap, she felt a mixture of exhilaration and solemnity. "Status, Aura?" she asked, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "All systems nominal." Aura's calming voice replied, flowing directly into her mind via a neural interface. Course plotted for the Nebula of Whispering Lights. Estimated travel time, 4 hours at optimal warp. Minimal stellar traffic expected. As the Stardust Weaver lifted silently from the landing pad, the protective dome of her home opened like a blooming flower, revealing the night sky. The familiar constellations were there, but now Alara saw them with new eyes. Many were dimmer than she remembered, their light subtly muted, a testament to the helix's failing pulse. A pang of cosmic sorrow echoed in her heart. The ship accelerated, a gentle hum vibrating through the floor. Stars stretched into streaks of light, then coalesced into the shimmering tunnel of warp speed. Alara gazed out, mesmerized by the kaleidoscopic dance of hyperreality. Aura projected images of the nebula onto the main view screen, a cloud of gas and dust, but one shot through with impossible shifting colors, emerald greens, sapphire blues, and hints of amethyst, all laced with faint, phosphorescent tendrils. It looked like a cosmic watercolor, painted by a whimsical deity. The architects chose this location carefully, Aura explained. The nebula's unique energy signature provides a natural cloaking field, shielding their construct from detection. It also contains residual exotic matter, which the helix utilizes in its primary functions. The journey passed in a blur of wonder. Alara watched nebulae drift by like celestial jellyfish, saw distant galaxies spiral majestically, and felt the immensity of space pressing in. She wasn't afraid, not really. There was too much to see, too much to understand. The keystone pulsed a gentle rhythm against her thigh, a comforting heartbeat in the void. After what felt like both an instant and an eternity, Aura announced, exiting warp in 60 seconds, approaching Nebula of Whispering Lights. The ship decelerated smoothly, the tunnel of light collapsing back into the vast star-strewn canvas. Before them, the Nebula of Whispering Lights unfurled in breathtaking glory. It was even more vibrant up close, a living entity of gas and dust, swirling slowly, its colors shifting and deepening like a painter's palette. Tiny motes of light, like fireflies, drifted within its depths. "Scanning for architect construct," Aura announced. "Detecting trace energy signatures. The keystone's resonance is amplifying the signal." Alara felt the node in her hand grow warmer, its light intensifying. It vibrated with a faint, almost imperceptible hum, guiding the ship. Deep within the nebula, hidden behind layers of swirling gas that seemed to part specifically for them, a shape began to emerge. It wasn't a starship or a typical space station. It was colossal, a vast, silent, almost organic-looking structure. It resembled a colossal crystalline flower, its petals unfurling into the void, each facet catching and refracting the nebula's light. It was dark, dormant, a sleeping titan in the heart of a cosmic garden. Architect construct designated lumen core, aura identified. It appears completely powered down. Entry point detected at the central nexus of the petals. The Stardust Weaver glided towards the lumen core, its silent approach a whisper in the cosmic stillness. As they drew closer, Elara saw intricate carvings on its surface, geometric patterns that seemed to shift and flow, hinting at an intelligence beyond human comprehension. The air outside, though non-existent, felt charged with ancient power. Docking sequence initiated, Aura informed her. A section of the lumen core's surface retracted, revealing a softly glowing entrance hatch. Environmental controls stabilizing for internal atmosphere. Pressure differential nominal. Elara unstrapped herself, the keystone now radiating a steady, comforting warmth. She took a deep breath, a mix of awe and determination filling her. "All right, Aura. Guide me." She stepped into a short airlock, the hatch hissing shut behind her. When the inner door opened, she was met not with sterile metal, but with a breathtaking chamber. Bioluminescent pathways like veins of living light pulsed gently across the floor and walls, illuminating a vast cathedral-like space. The air was cool and clean, carrying a faint, sweet scent, like rain on ancient stone. The chamber was immense, stretching into shadows far above. Pillars of crystalline light rose from the floor, reaching towards a vaulted ceiling that twinkled with simulated stars. It was a place designed for wonder, for contemplation, for an understanding of the universe. "The lumen core appears to be a self-sustaining ecosystem," Aura explained. "The architects integrated their technology with natural processes. Follow the brightest path, Elara. It leads to the central helix conduit." Elara walked, her footsteps echoing softly in the vastness. The keystone in her hand pulsed rhythmically, guiding her along the glowing path. She passed through smaller chambers, each with unique holographic displays that briefly flickered to life as she approached, showing abstract concepts. The flow of energy, the interconnectedness of life, the dance of creation and destruction. They weren't warnings or puzzles, but lessons, preparing her for what lay ahead. She felt a deep reverence for the architects, for their vision, for their understanding of the universe. They hadn't just built a machine, they had cultivated a garden, a living network. Finally, the path opened into a truly colossal chamber. Elara gasped. At its heart, suspended in a field of shimmering energy, was the radiant helix itself. It was immense, a towering structure of interwoven light and shadow, spiraling upwards beyond her sight. It was not solid, but seemed to be composed of countless threads of pure energy, constantly shifting, flowing, like a cosmic double helix of interwoven starlight. But it was dim, its light muted, its energy sluggish. It looked like a dying ember, struggling to maintain its glow. Above it, a panoramic view screen, a vast window to the cosmos, showed the stars outside. And they were dimmer still, their light barely pinpricks in the crushing darkness. A wave of profound sadness washed over Elara. The cosmic heart was truly failing. The keystone in her hand flared to life, its light blindingly bright, radiating heat. It tugged, pulling her towards a pedestal at the base of the colossal helix. The pedestal was simple, made of the same crystalline material as the helix itself, with a single, perfectly circular indentation. This was it. The moment of truth. Elara approached, her heart thrumming with a mix of fear and absolute certainty. She looked at the dimming stars, then at the magnificent, dying helix. She remembered her parents' words. "The gateway is within you." She placed the keystone into the indentation. It clicked into place with a soft thrum, and instantly, the helix responded. A low, resonant hum filled the chamber, growing in intensity. The dormant energy threads of the helix began to glow, faintly at first, then brighter. The entire chamber vibrated with nascent power. Holographic projections erupted from the pedestal, swirling around Elara. They weren't images of people or places, but of pure energy, of cosmic consciousness, of the vast intricate network of the universe. She saw countless stars, distant galaxies, the delicate dance of planets, all connected by invisible threads of light, all flowing through the radiant helix. And then, she felt it. Not just saw it, but felt it. The distress signal, amplified 1,000-fold, rushed into her mind. It wasn't a scream, but a lament, a song of sorrow from dying suns, from civilizations losing their guiding light, from the very fabric of existence unraveling. It was the loneliness of the universe. The fear of oblivion. Elara closed her eyes, tears pricking at their corners. She understood. The helix wasn't just a machine to be repaired. It was a living entity. Vast beyond comprehension, but vulnerable. It needed to be reconnected, reinfused with the spark of life, with empathy and wonder. Her parents had been right. She was the gateway. Taking a deep shuddering breath, Elara reached out with her mind. She didn't consciously enjoy anything, but rather, she galloped. She opened herself, her unique consciousness, her star-child resonance, to the helix. She let her wonder, her love for the stars, her sadness for their fading light, flow freely. She became the conduit, the living bridge between the keystone and the cosmic heart. A torrent of light and sensation overwhelmed her. She was no longer just Elara. She was everywhere, nowhere. She felt the warmth of a million suns, the icy breath of nebulae, the silent communication between distant worlds. She felt the ancient wisdom of the architects, their dream of a connected, thriving universe. She poured her essence, her belief, her very being, into the helix. The dim threads of the radiant helix in the chamber flared with blinding intensity. Waves of pure, vibrant light pulsed outwards from the central conduit, echoing through the lumen core. The humming grew into a magnificent, harmonious song, a cosmic choir celebrating rebirth. Elara felt herself stretching, expanding, becoming one with the light, with the universe. The loneliness she had felt earlier vanished, replaced by an overwhelming sense of connection, of belonging. She was a tiny, vital spark in an infinite tapestry, playing her part. Through the vast view screen above, a miracle unfolded. One by one, then in clusters, the distant stars began to brighten. Their light, once muted, now blazed with renewed vigor, pushing back the encroaching darkness. It was like watching a cosmic breath return, a vast, ancient entity inhaling deeply, drawing life back into its lungs. The fading light was gone, replaced by a radiant tapestry of stellar brilliance. The surge of energy began to recede, gently, like a tide pulling back from the shore. Elara felt herself condensing, returning to her own body, exhausted but utterly exhilarated. She opened her eyes. The lumen core glowed with vibrant, steady light. The radiant helix pulsed with magnificent power, its energy threads now a river of pure starlight. She reached for the keystone. It was still warm, but its blinding light had softened to a gentle, steady glow, a beacon of perpetual hope. The cosmic song in the chamber began to fade, settling into a low, contented hum. The helix is restored, Elara. Aura's voice resonated in her mind, filled with a subtle, almost emotional tone. The stellar network is fully operational. Life has returned to the cosmic heart. A profound sense of peace washed over Elara. She had done it. She had answered the call. Her parents' legacy, the architect's dream, was safe. The stars were safe. The journey home was different. The stardust weaver glided through a sky that blazed with renewed splendor. Every star, every nebula, every distant galaxy seemed to shine brighter, more vibrantly than before. The universe was alive again, humming with energy and light. Elara watched it all, her heart full. She wasn't just seeing the stars, she was feeling them, sensing their distant songs, their gentle hums. The gateway had truly opened, not just for the helix but within her own perception. She was still Elara. But she was also so much more. A part of the cosmic dance, forever connected to the boundless wonder of existence. Back in her room, the first rays of dawn were painting the sky in soft hues of violet and rose. She lay in her bed, the keystone resting on her bedside table, glowing with a soft, comforting light, like a tiny captured star. It was now a permanent nightlight, a constant reminder of her incredible journey. Aura projected a final gentle message into her mind. Sleep well, Elara. The universe rests safe tonight, thanks to you. And know this. Your parents would be immensely proud. A comfortable weariness settled over her. She closed her eyes, no longer afraid of the dark, no longer burdened by the fading light. The stars outside her window now shone with brilliant clarity, each one a promise, a story waiting to be told. She understood now that the greatest wonders were not just out there, in the vastness of space, but also within the human heart, capable of connecting with the biggest, brightest dreams. She drifted into sleep, a gentle smile gracing her lips, knowing that even in the quietest moments of the night, the radiant helix hummed its eternal song, and her own heart hummed along, forever a part of its cosmic melody. The universe was vast, beautiful, and endlessly full of wonder, and she was home, safe, in its gentle embrace.